Hey, this is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone. So, a couple weeks ago, we did this really fun video where we took this telly and we did a blind test, or we didn't do a blind test, that's the whole reason we're here. We did a test where we put aluminum, steel, brass, and Graphtec saddles in the telly. And we labeled them on the screen so that you could kind of understand the difference between the sounds and stuff. Well, we got a lot of requests in the comments, and they were like, we really want you to do a blind test. And I didn't do it because I knew that people were just going to be biased to their answers anyway, because that's how guitar people are. They just think brass is a certain way, and they think aluminum is a certain way. So I just didn't care. I just put it in the video and said, here it is. But my suspicions were correct in that people did say things based on what the internet has told them for years. Like, the brass is warmer, the brass is twangier, which is two completely opposite answers. Graphtec was just as twangy as brass almost, and nice and warm. Graphtec was thumpy and gross and dead. Completely opposite answers. Like, people were really kind of all over the place with this stuff, and we got a bunch of comments saying do a blind test, and I'm like, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm about to play for you the 4 saddles that we used before. I'm going to put them in the video, not in the order that they were in the first time, so that you cannot cheat. I am not going to label them, but I'm going to take note of them, and then we are going to release another video later. Okay, a couple housekeeping things with this deal. Number one, did I use the same amp settings and everything? When I do these tests, I always use the same exact profile with the Kemper. I use a Fender Super Reverb, like a 65 Fender Super Reverb. It has a little bit of slapback delay on it. I don't think I used that in this test. I just used a little bit of room reverb. I cannot stand totally dry signal, and that has nothing to do with the tone in this, for this case of what we're doing. As far as like the knobs being the same, all the settings being the same, absolutely. Everything's the same all the way across. And number two, the guitar, tone knob, and volume knob all the way up. I did my best to pick the same. I mean, you know, I play this guitar all the time, so I'm very familiar with how it feels. I did not go out of my way to do one thing versus the other, like how you play it, you know, like where you put your hands and all that kind of stuff. Literally was just as comfortable as I normally am. I did not measure sustain times or anything, because I think sustain is stupid. I think people putting a lot of weight on that is dumb, because nobody holds notes for 12 seconds anyway. It doesn't matter. So if you just don't play like that. So that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about tone, and tone is not sustain. I'm just sorry to tell you, but it's not. So there's a few things in there like that. We made sure that it was as true as possible. So go ahead, listen to it, and put it in the comments what you think. And yeah, here you go. Okay, so there you go. Put it in the comments below what you think it was, what order it was. We had Graphtec, we had brass, we had aluminum, and we had nickel-plated steel. So that'll give you an idea. Put it in the comments what you think it is. I'm very curious, and then we will go ahead and what we're going to do is I've got another video coming out next week, and I will put at the end of that video, because I've already produced that video I've worked on most of it. It's mostly edited. So at the end of that video, when we do our little FAQ things and our little viewer shout outs and stuff, I'll put in there the results of that video. So just watch to the end of next week's video, and that will give you, boom, the answer to this question. Which one was which in our saddle shootout? Totally blind test. I haven't even done it yet, so I don't even know what order they're in. This is gonna be fun. Thanks for hanging out. In fact, let's do some viewer comments and stuff from a couple of the last videos that we have come out with this week. All right, let's go over some comments from some last videos, some earlier videos. Alton for President asks, question, rather than putting wax between a cover and a pickup, would a thin piece of foam like a product that would inhibit vibration between the two parts be another solution? You could do that. The problem with that is the foam doesn't usually overcome the vibration. The frequency is so high, and just the motion of everything, wax works better because it also works as kind of an adhesive. I will tell you that, and it has to be stiffer than foam, basically. So I've used pieces of tape, like just put pieces of masking tape on top of the pickup, then squish the cover down on top of it. I've done that before. It's got to be stiffer than foam. Riley G2 says, I want to put a Bigsby on a project cello. If I ever have the money, the B3 could replace the cello tailpiece very easily. This is a project that I want to see. I don't want to do it myself, but I want to see this. A cello with a Bigsby. I want to see this. So Riley G2, if you ever get to do this, please let me know, because I want to see that video. Accutronitis the second. How can I tell the difference between the older model and the updated model? Okay, so the updated, so he's asking about the zither guitar stands. There's a newer model versus an older model. I'll insert some B-roll right here, and it will show you the newer model has like a little rounder top to it. I'll put a link in this video to the new zither guitar stand model. You can get it on Amazon. It's awesome. Let's see. The Rolling Stones concert experience says, hi Dylan. Hey. I'm thinking of adding 500K pots to my Strat that has two Seymour Duncan JB Juniors. I set up my Strat just like my Gibson with 2 mini humbuckers and a 3-position switch. What kind of capacitors should I use? I don't mind if I end up with more treble. I can always roll it down on the tone knob and amp. I agree. 500K pots for sure. If it was my guitar, I'd put a .047 in it. A lot of traditional humbucker people would probably tell you to put a .033 in it. But I would put a .047, that's just me. And then if it was mine, I would actually put a no-load tone pot in it so that you could bypass the whole thing for like super, gnarly all the way up, and then be able to vary it down from there. So I would personally put a no-load tone pot and a .047 capacitor. That's what I would do. So stay tuned for next week. Don't forget, because we just did this whole blind test thing. So in this part of next week's video is where we're gonna have the results. I'm not gonna dedicate a whole video to it. So we're just gonna put the results of this week's video in this part of next week's video. So stay tuned for that. My name is Dylan. If you are just seeing this video and you don't know what the whole thing we're talking about, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can keep up on all that. And we will talk to you all very soon.